I greet you in Jesus' precious name. It's just wonderful to be with you. I trust you are sitting back, you're relaxed. You can have a nice cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I'm totally relaxed. I'm sitting by the fire just outside the guest house on the farm, and it is a beautiful winter's evening. The sun is now starting to set quite quickly, and I want to share a word especially for you from the Lord. I've called this message the Great Paradox. Now, a paradox is a word which means it is similar to something else, but it's actually not, if that makes sense. A paradox. So you're trying to compare something that is similar, but it's different. In other words, if we go to Galatians chapter 2 and verse 20, Paul says, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. We had a campaign here, a Mighty Men conference some years back, and we entitled it, Dying to Live. Now that's a paradox. So in other words, if you want to live, you have to die. Okay, now if you don't understand the meaning, it sounds ridiculous. Until you die to your flesh, until you die to yourself, okay, you won't be living. Now what Paul says here, he says, I have died. I have been crucified in Christ. It is no longer I who is living. It's Christ in me. And that's what gives you freedom. That's what gives you an opportunity to live life to the full. I was just talking to the film crew before this program and saying, there's nothing else actually to live for, really, isn't there? I mean, I've been all over the world. I've been, as a young man, I was a cowboy in Australia. I've been to Scotland. I was there for 2.5 years farming. I've been to Zambia. I've been to Swaziland. And then I came to South Africa, and I met Jesus Christ on this farm. My life was transformed. Now I am really living. And I want to encourage you to do the same. You know, your biggest enemy and my biggest enemy is not the devil. No. It is ourselves. My biggest enemy is Angus Buchan. And when Angus Buchan dies, then the Lord can live through me. When Jesus died on the cross, his arms outstretched, he said, it is finished. Mission accomplished. The devil is a defeated foe. All he is a liar and a thief. Nothing else. He can't hurt you. He can only tell lies. Jim Elliot was a young missionary. Him and his wife Elizabeth, and they had a little baby daughter, went to the Amazon jungle in the 1950s. And he was murdered by the Auca Indians for his faith. Him and 3 of his friends. 29 years old. And he said, it is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. What does that mean? Well, this life that you and I are living, we can't keep it going. We can't live one day longer than God gives us. But the life that we're going to live in heaven, we're going to live forever and ever and ever in his presence. What a day that's going to be when we meet the Lord. It is no fool who gives what he cannot keep. We need to start living for others, living for Christ, and preparing for eternity. Then that will give us a life worth living. John 12:24. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it abides alone. But if it dies, it bears much grain. Today, let's put the flesh down and let's start living for God and for our fellow men. Until next time, Jesus bless you and goodbye.